Have you ever stopped to think about the humble door handle? Probably not. It's just ... there. You grab it, you turn it, you push or pull, and you're in. But this simple piece of hardware has a surprisingly long and, dare I say, occasionally interesting history. So, let's take a journey back in time, way back, to a world without door handles. Imagine, if you will, the very earliest human dwellings. We're talking caves, huts made of branches and mud. The concept of a door was basically a big rock, a heavy animal hide, or a woven mat draped over an opening. There were no handles. You just shoved it aside or lifted it. It was purely functional, designed to keep out the cold, the rain, and maybe a curious saber-toothed tiger. These were often massive, heavy things that pivoted on hinges. But how did they open them? Still, mostly by pushing it. For more important doors, like those on temples or palaces, you might find a simple iron ring or a bar. This was the most basic form of a handle, but it wasn't for turning, just for pulling. The idea of a mechanism inside the door was still centuries away. Let's fast forward to the medieval period. Castles, manors, and even modest homes had wooden doors. The most common handle of this era was the latch string. You've probably heard the phrase, "The latch string is always out," which means you're welcome. This came from a simple mechanism. A wooden bar on the inside of the door would drop into a catch. To open it from the outside, a string was attached to the bar, fed through a small hole in the door, and left dangling. If the occupants didn't want visitors, they'd simply pull the string inside. It was a simple but effective system. Blacksmiths were the rock stars of their day, and they would forge elaborate pull handles and plates for the doors of the wealthy. These were status symbols. Think of huge ornate rings on cathedral doors or intricate leafy designs on the entrance to a nobleman's house. The handle was starting to be more than just functional. It was becoming a piece of decorative art. The real revolution, the moment the door handle as we know it began to take shape, didn't happen until much later. For centuries, we were stuck with pushing, pulling strings, and grabbing rings. The game changer was the invention of the mortise lock. This was a lock mechanism that was fitted inside a pocket, or mortise cut into the edge of the door itself. This was a huge leap forward in both security and convenience. But this new internal latch needed a way to be operated from the outside. And that's where our hero, the doorknob, finally enters the scene. In 1878, a man named Osborne Dorsey, an African-American inventor, was granted a patent for an improvement on a door-closing device. While people debate the exact origin, this period in the late 19th century was the golden age for doorknob innovation. Dorsey's patent was significant because it related to the mechanism that allowed a handle to operate a latch. A spindle would pass through the door, connecting a knob on each side to the latch mechanism inside. A simple rotation of the wrist was all it took to retract the latch and open the door. It was a marvel of mechanical simplicity and ergonomic genius. This innovation unleashed a torrent of creativity. The Victorian era, in particular, was obsessed with ornamentation, and doorknobs were no exception. They were made from brass, bronze, cast iron, glass, porcelain, and even wood. They came in every shape and size imaginable. You could find knobs with intricate floral patterns, geometric designs, and even company logos. People collected them. A home's doorknobs became a reflection of the owner's taste and wealth. Cut glass and crystal knobs were especially popular, refracting light and adding a touch of glamour to a room. It was also during this time that the leather handle, which had been around in Europe for a while, gained widespread popularity. We're now entering the age of the smart lock. The internal workings are becoming more complex than ever, trading spindles and springs for circuit boards and servos. But even with all this new technology, the fundamental principle remains the same. We need a way to get through a barrier. And now to a fingerprint scanner. The door handle has been a constant quiet companion in our daily lives. So the next time you reach for a door, take a second to appreciate that handle. It has a longer and more interesting story than you might think. It's a small object that connects us directly to centuries of design, innovation, and history.